Good morning and welcome back to Good Morning Colorado. Taking a live look outside right now from Ordway. The time right now is 6:40 and changes in our weather are moving into our area tonight. Here with all the details is Storm Tracker 13's Marty. Good morning, Marty.
And good morning, Kurjan. We'll start with a look from the monument area. This view from Community Banks of Colorado. We've done a lot of snow melting the last few days. Still have some pretty large piles of snow to get through yet, thanks to that last storm system. You can see the wind is moving the trees around. The cooler air is coming in right now. I think this shot looks very different this time tomorrow morning than it does currently, where we just have a couple of clouds around. Futurecast shows as we move into the afternoon hours, a few showers will start to develop and then become more expansive by late this afternoon, so say 3 or 4 o'clock. Now, lower elevations in eastern Colorado, we'll be talking about rain showers. It's not going to be that cold yet for snow. But once you start getting up here across the mountains west of Denver, maybe into Teller County, the first of the precipitation may start to come down as a little bit of wet snow this afternoon. I wouldn't worry about significant accumulations of snow through 4 o'clock, but if you're starting to see some snowflakes, I wouldn't let that shock me either. I'm sure we'll be in the 60s south of the Arkansas River today. A little less certain that we'll get that warm along the river as the front is coming in. If we do, it'll be just by a couple of degrees, and so certainly not as warm as the mid to upper 70s that we had yesterday. Notice in Denver, Lyman, and even for most of the day, I think in Colorado Springs, we're going to be considerably cooler in the 40s. We'll have some 30s up across the high country. As we move into this evening, all indications are that precipitation will become more widespread across the area. By midnight, most of this around the Pikes Peak region is coming down as snow, probably also the case to the south and west of Pueblo. Over the eastern plains, though, we're probably looking mostly at rain and maybe even some thunderstorms. As we move into the overnight period, more of this becomes snow here along the I-25 corridor. Some of this is going to be accumulating out here across the plains. We're still looking at predominantly rain. Excuse me. Futurecast is showing on the higher terrain between Colorado Springs and Denver some of the darker blues on the map. I want to stop this at 6 in the morning for those of you that have some travel plans. Obviously, commuting tomorrow morning could be affected by some snow. I don't think we'll have a lot of this on the roadways between Canyon City and Pueblo. There could be an inch or so, maybe 2 on the grass, but I think at worst we'll have a little bit of slush along the river on Highway 50. But in pockets south and west of Pueblo, around Beulah or Rye, up into Teller County, up over Monument Hill, I think the snow is going to be heavier and probably sticking to the roadways. And then it will continue to snow during the day tomorrow, and so we'll start to pump up these numbers a little bit higher here as we head into the afternoon. So storm totals by the time this wraps up, say mid tomorrow afternoon, should be on the order of probably 2 to 5 inches across most of Colorado Springs. I think as you head up onto the Palmer Divide and into Teller County, it's more likely we'll have 4 to 8 inches. Notice these sort of spots of purple on the map, and it's an indication of some bullseyes where some localized heavier amounts of snow could fall. And where you see these purple things on the map, there could be up to 8 inches of snow or a little bit more. So maybe Black Forest, it looks pretty likely that we'll have that happen over the foothills to the west of Denver, probably over the northern and eastern slopes of Pikes Peak, so a place like Cascade. It's a little tough to know exactly where those heavier amounts will fall. I give you the general ranges for a reason, so 4 to 8 inches on the Palmer Divide into Teller County, but that just means that a few spots could pick up a little bit more than that. That's also true over the higher terrain south and west of Pueblo, back towards Rye, Beulah, Bishop's Castle area, and maybe even out towards Colorado City. Again, terrain is going to drive how much snow falls here, as there will be a lot of melting with the warm ground at lower elevations in particular. So we'll figure on maybe 1 to 4 inches right along the Arkansas River from Pueblo to Canyon City. Again, most of that probably on the cooler surfaces. With a heavy enough burst of snow, we could briefly overcome the roadways, whiten them up or slush them a little bit, but I don't think travel will be quite as difficult for you along the Arkansas River. Late in this storm system, so generally tomorrow later on in the morning and the afternoon, we could see some snow break out across the Raton Mesa, where we could pick up maybe 2 to 4 inches of snow, a couple of pockets on the grass, perhaps a little higher. We could also see some slightly higher amounts around Levita Pass, maybe back towards Cuchara. I think the southern I-25 corridor, Walsenburg or Trinidad, we're talking about 1 to 3 inches with the storm system as it looks to focus the heavier precipitation a little farther north and east. Tomorrow morning, probably 20s and 30s in most of eastern Colorado, generally above freezing over the far eastern plains. We'll still have some teens, though, across the high country. So again, the higher you go, the more impactful this is likely to be to your road conditions. Cheyenne Mountain right now looking out towards the east, and you can see just a few clouds. We're tracking what looks to be a pretty wintry start to the week, obviously. And the week as a whole looks cool, and it looks to bring us some more chances for snow as well. We'll have a lot more on that coming up throughout the rest of the show. Stick around. We'll be back after the break.